What's happening, people? It's your girl Mina. Welcome back to my channel. You already know what it is. First and foremost, big up to everyone. As always, joined by my lovely brother Marcel. Marcel, chat to me, man. What are you saying? How you doing? It's been a
Well,
minute.
man.
People been saying you've been hiding. People said you were
I
in
never,
hiding, but I know you weren't in hiding. I know
I
you weren't.
never hide. I never hide from anyone. Just just to start off, make sure you like and subscribe to Mina's channel. Yeah, man, big up. I'm in good. I'm in good faith and good spirits right now regarding to the club. I'm never hiding when I'm just busy, whatever, and really interested to talk about the club. Just seen the presser as well, fresh seen the presser. I hope nobody calls me anything because I'm on my phone doing it. So I hope no one calls me right now. But yeah, yeah, looking forward to the chat today, man.
Well, I actually haven't had the chance to catch up with you since the Palace game. I actually haven't
Mm.
spoken to you properly about it. I think the last time we did a stream was full view on Sunday, so that was before the Palace game. What did you just take of just that performance and that result? Because I'm not gonna lie, I thought that was the final nail in the coffin for the manager.
It's one of them ones. It's one of them ones where we kind of capitulated as a team.
Yeah.
We capitulated as a team. You know, you could see that the players, they're not good enough in certain positions. We've got no defense, so we have no one that's suitable or good enough in those areas of the pitch. Lack of confidence all over the place. Just no ability to build up at all in the way that Ten Hag wants us to build up. Just inadequate players in all sorts of positions. No suitable left back in the left back position. Tired, it's just really poor. Just really poor. And against a team where Eze and Olise have been absolutely on fire. And I really like the way that manager, I think he's a new manager, he's not to the league. I really like the way he implemented the 3-4-3, having those two players in the 10 area, kind of freedom as you like, with Mateta who's scoring a lot of goals. But it just was so easy to bypass us with Evans, who just come back. Casemiro, for the longest time now, we've all been saying maybe needs to be sold. It's just, barren performance from him. Without Bruno and all that dynamic running in the midfield, you're missing all the legs. Mason Mount, again, one of those things where coming back from injury, do you play him 90 minutes gun-ho straight away? Or do you want to play players when they're coming back from those big kind of injuries like Ahmad, like Martinez, like Mount? Do you give them the here we go minutes, 20 minutes here, 10 minutes here, to build them into the fitness? Do we have the opportunity right now as a football club to even do that? Do we even have the opportunity as a team to even be able to produce, putting on players good enough to beat certain teams and give other players that come back from big injuries here we go minutes to build them back into fitness? The answer is no for that. The injuries have been so dire, the decimation of the squad's been so dire, so that dynamic happens. And even though I was very hopeful now, I think I've come to the realization, as I can see, we're just not going to be able to win many games in the style that Ten Hag wants us to. That's what I've been saying for the longest amount of time. Just patch it up, counter-attack, 100 players behind the ball and attack the space that you hopefully is in behind.
But don't you think it's too late for that? Because Ten Hag has had issues all season implementing the style of play that he wants to, and that's his argument has been it's been because of injuries. So don't you think United should have been, when the injury crisis was at its worst, I'm talking about when basically how bad it is right now, where there was a point where Rashford was out injured, there was a point where Garnacho was holding on by a thread. Don't you think that's the time to play counter-attacking, low block football, just pragmatic? Because I don't see the point on doing that when the season's come to an end. Whereas if you did it maybe in February, United might have been able to salvage some points in March.
So I disagree with you in the sense of, I believe, and I've been saying this for a long time now, Mina, he did do that this season. He against, I remember very clearly against Burnley, counter-attacking football, conservative, pragmatic style. I remember very clearly against Sheffield, counter-attacking football, very pragmatic, conservative. And then he got all the footballers back and told us in and around the January or the early stages of 2024, listen, they're back now. I want to play my football. We started scoring goals and we saw the fruition and the fruits of the active and proactive front line. And then the decimation happened again, and the breakdown of footballers happened again. And he mentioned to us about him not being able to garner enough trust from his physio side, from the physio side of things. Yes, his in-game management is poor, but his hands are tied behind his back that he's doing this in-game management from. And that includes so many different aspects of it. Players that don't really that are not meant to be at the club, that he's had to call upon, and at the beginning of this season, the likes of Maguire and Scott McTominay, surplus to requirements, but he's asked them to produce performances, which they've done very professionally.
They've saved his ass many times this season.
Yeah, but they were surplus to requirements at the beginning.
But they've still saved him. They've saved him. Without McTominay's goals against Brentford and other goals, 2 goals against Chelsea, that's 6 points right there.
Yeah, that's not what I'm disputing. What I'm disputing is what is the predicament that he's had to deal with this season. And I'm looking at the structures part of this accountability, for want of a better word, because I just saw the chat there in terms of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just pointing out the places where it goes and how it lies and the reasons as to why. And Ten Hag's told us in the presser today about injuries, but I've been screaming that for the longest amount of time. It's been ridiculous how long ago I was talking about this. So it's just pointing out to things that I already kind of understood. Especially when we're trying to ask him to enact a certain style of football, that he's been told to do, I think. Yes, he has his own dynamics of it and principles and philosophies, but he's the reason why he tells Neville the fact that he doesn't want to really change it too much is because if you keep chopping and changing, I understand that, but it gets to a predicament where you've got to change it. So that's my thought process. But in terms of why he wants to stay with it is because you can't keep chopping and changing it. So he might even do his Ten Hag ball against Arsenal, but we're just going to get obliterated. But then it's a good thing because it highlights to you the weak points. It highlights to you the weaknesses in the team. It shows you the inadequacies of the team. And Ineos can now enact on that and say, well, look, Casemiro go, Evans, okay, you've been useful for us in the counter-attacking phase against Burnley. Fantastic assist for Bruno, and you're really good at your long passes, but you're going to stay as defender number 5. We need to get 2 more defenders that are suitable for this style. We need a proper left-back that's durable, always available. Right-backs, okay, Wan-Bissaka can't do the build-up phase, not good enough in those aspects. We want to do all our build-up because Ten Hag's already said it, from the defensive line, get us a better right-back. All these little things are able to be looked at now because he's still enacting the style. So it's just really, really important that he's doing it this way, I guess, sometimes. But if you don't want to always get obliterated against these teams, I do agree that you have to go conservative. So it's just really, really difficult season that we have to push forward through, and he's trying his best.
Do you think like the Palace game, going conservative would have changed the result? Because at no point did I think United was going for the fatal blow. At no point did I feel like in possession United were doing anything. So even if they had sat back and kind of been like on the whole counter-attacking kind of play that you're suggesting that Ten Hag should do you think it would have really made a difference? Because when United I think there was a point 60th minute into the game that they had like 5 touches in the opposition's box. United's issue, I think they've got 2 issues defensively. One is that when they are compact, they have, in order to be a very good and compact backline, they have to have the best defenders available. They can't do it with a Casemiro. They can't do it with a Wan-Bissaka. They can't do it with, players playing out of position. That's number 1. Number 2, if they are playing on this normal Ten Hag style of football, defensively they can't defend because players don't know where to be. They don't know positioning. Christian Eriksen caught out for the first goal. Casemiro caught out for the first goal and the third goal. Wan-Bissaka's positioning has always been poor. I feel like when he plays at left back, everything is flipped. I feel like the pitch is flipped for him because he's used to playing right back. When he plays left back, his positioning is 10 times worse than when he plays right back. And that's why I feel like something like that, for example, Diogo Dalot has shown multiple times that he can play left back. He came into United playing left back at Porto. So why don't you just revert to that? Whereas I feel like, I say this all the time, Ten Hag's stubbornness for things, for change, and different types of change, i.e. experimenting, is what is going to F him up that's what's effed him up in the long run. Suggested games like against Crystal Palace. And this is a question to the chat. Do you guys feel, and for Marcel as well, do you feel like if United had gone this pragmatic, counter-attacking, low block kind of performance against Crystal Palace, would it really have made a difference?
I think we would have conceded a lot more possession. definitely. But Manchester United Football Club, especially that forward line, we've always been very good at counter-attacks. So there's got more space to operate in front of them, and playing the final pass. We've got a couple midfielders there, Eriksen, who can play the longer passes, Mason Mount, who would like to thread the balls into the space for players to run into, Højlund, that's always willing to run, Garnacho, who's always willing to run. I think it would be in a better system than us trying to be ball retentive is the word I think he used in the presser today, but ball retentive in the final third. More temperament is required within this system when we get to the higher levels, and patient underlaps and overlaps from the fullbacks out on from the outside of the opposition's defensive line. All these elements you're not really going to get when the supply from the defensive line in terms of build up and playmaking is not there. It's just clearly not going to be there with these inadequate footballers, like you just mentioned, Wan-Bissaka, Casemiro, Evans. Delo right now in barren form as well. Back to Villarreal days, I think 2 seasons ago. It's when you have that, and that's what we're counting on. Onana as well in terms of the build-up element from the defensive line. He's risking so many players in the midfield line forward because he wants to break down the opposition in the half spaces in between the two midfield and defensive line and beyond the defensive line. You got to have players in the defensive line that are in our defensive line that are good enough, and obviously we don't have that. Not even to build up, losing possession early. Eriksen again on rest defense, smelling the danger once we lose the ball in the opposition's half. Inadequate, not strong enough, not fast enough. There's so many issues. Kobe, a young player, but in terms of on rest defense, not very dynamic and quick across the ground. Wonderful at retaining the ball. He needs wonderful players around him to hide those little inadequacies that he'll have at times. So just a combination of so many problems, and that's why you have to do the Jose Mourinho 101, the Ole 101, 1,000 players behind the ball. It just allows you to survive into the match longer than what we're doing right now. But if you keep doing that chop and change of styles, on and off like a light switch, do the players invest? Do the players believe in you? And we've had a decimation of footballers, Mina. It's been a decimation of footballers available to the cause without the consistency, without the patterns. It's just going to be headache this season. So that's why I think Ineos see that. I really do think Ineos see that. And I think if they do the gentleman's thing, which is let him honour out his contract, I think next season we have a better circumstance. And especially if they're able to back him properly. The beginning of this season, there should have been no Maguire. At the beginning of this season, there should have been no Scott McTominay.
Come on, man! You can't. Come on, man! Scott McTominay saved his ass multiple games.
Can I just?
It would have been worse. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
So at the beginning of the season, there should be no Scott McTominay and no Maguire. So with that knowledge, 2 other footballers potentially that would have better suited the system could have been at the football club. That's just one little thing that I'm trying to point out there. I'm not saying I'm not denying that, okay, the season progresses and you must get on with the business and you must get on with the job. No. I'm not trying to hide that fact. I'm accounting for that fact. I'm accounting for the out-of-body experience that he has at home, 2-0, and the dire moments that Scott McTominay has. I'm accounting for the times that Maguire is out of the team for long periods. He's watching Sancho do the diva behaviour, and then he comes in and becomes very professional, does good performances for us, scores important goals for us. I'm accounting for all that, but I'm giving you the reality of when we was playing last season. The manager clearly had these 2 players as surplus to requirements. The structure then has to come into play and say, well, get rid of them, new footballers in, and that element hasn't happened. Whereas with Ineos now, we're really hoping that Ralph's told us open heart surgery. So we really need that to happen now. And if Ten Hag can get that, we'll have more footballers that are able to enact Ten Hag's style, and there's going to be so much fruition from that.
Let me ask a question, because you've emphasized it twice today, and you've obviously mentioned it in the past as well. I don't get how people can be hung up on the idea of Scott McTominay and Harry Maguire. I don't think they're a big issue this season. Let's be honest. Without Harry Maguire this year, Erik Ten Hag would be 1 centre back short, right? There's no guarantee, and this is just hypothetical in it, but there's no guarantee that United would have brought a centre back in the summer window had they sold Maguire, because he wasn't going from anything more than 30 million. Scott McTominay, another player that's been available when fit. I can think of 2 games this season alone, he single-handedly saved United with 3 points. I just don't get how the blame gets shifted to the fact that United structure couldn't offload them as to being part of the wider problem. at Manchester United. I mean, United have had the issue the last 10 years of just shifting anyone, forget just them, but shifting anyone. They haven't been able to do that. And the reason why I'm giving them a bit of benefit this season is because of the fact that they have been, like, there's nothing for me to complain about Maguire this year, aside from the fact where he's been injured in the last couple months. But throughout the entire season, when Varane was going down injured, when, you know, Lissandro was going down injured, he was available, he was fit, he was putting in solid performances. And I understand that a lot of Ten Hag's style of football is, you know, playing with a higher line. And as a result, when you're playing someone like Evans, when you're playing someone like Maguire in the back line, you're playing a lot more deeper. So the gap between the forwards and the back line is a lot more bigger. I get that. But I'm saying, look at it on the flip side, where if we hadn't sold them, United's injury crisis might have been worse. Because there's no guarantee that United would have reinvested that money. I mean, I'm sorry to mention it, but Mason Mount's out injured again. That's 60 million down the drain. Mason Mount is injured again. You know, like that was a signing that we didn't even need to get, because we haven't got the best out of him for how many games he's missed. I think he's missed over 30 games this season to injury now, which is a record in his that's a record in his career for one season, how much games he's missed due to injury. That is I blame the manager for that, because that could be, or maybe this is my assumption, that's a persistence on his side to sign him. United, you know, could have got him this summer on a free. Obviously, he managed to get his big money move. And somebody asked in the chat, and I actually want to know your thoughts, and I want to know everyone else's thoughts. The style of football that Ten Hag wants to play, do you think it can win a Premier League? Because I remember a while back you mentioned about Ancelotti, how Ancelotti's system allows for freedom. You know, the players make decisions, they're professional. But the more that I read about Ten Hag's way of football, I don't think they're similar. I think Ten Hag is kind of like a very rigid system that you have to do this, and if you can't do it, then United, the team, or just not United, but the team that he's coaching, capitulate. Whereas, you know, you look at Real Madrid just, you know, midweek against Bayern Munich, and a lot of the moments that they created to come back from being 1-0 down was individual moments of brilliance. I think you look at Rudiger on the left-hand side playing a ball in to Joslu to score the winner, right? And I'll think, if United was in that position, I always think, where would United centre-back be? I think, where do you think Harry Maguire would be in that situation? Where would Varane be? They'll be slap bang in the middle of the box, waiting for the ball to come into them, not on the other side of it. Do you get it? They wouldn't be on the out of it trying to put a ball in. They wouldn't be at that back post or anything. That's just my thought process. But the more that I read about Ancelotti's football and the way he talks about it in his press conferences, it makes me think about what you said. And I think Ancelotti's system has a lot more kind of variation depending on who's playing rather than Ten Hag's. I mean, I watched Real Madrid go, I think it was the El Clasico this season. They had Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Vasquez in the back four. None of them are natural defenders. None of them are natural defenders, but Ancelotti did that and they won the El Clasico. So I'm just, okay, I just went on a ramble, but back to the question. Do you think United can win? Or do you think this style of football can win a Premier League?
Yeah, no, I'm following everything you said there. So we was talking mainly on Scott and Maguire, so I'll get to there. But then you was talking about the elements of freedom football. I'm trying to coin it a new term. I'm trying to give it a new term. But so firstly, Maguire has had those elements on the outside of the defensive line. We've seen it sometimes where he's dribbled through long dribbles into certain areas of the pitch. Freedom football. You know, he has opportunities to make decisions. I think Jamie Carragher, there was a match view on United View that we was doing. Again, I think it was the Burnley game when we lost, and the long ball gets thrown straight into a 1v1 duel for Maguire. And the freedom football element is, what do you do as a decision here, Maguire? If you're in doubt, drop back and jockey to high heaven, or go and step in. That's what Ten Hag's instruction is, to go and step in. But as a freedom football system, you have the option to choose one or the other, you know, and that's what Ten Hag gives the footballers the power. If it's not that, then you get subbed off in 5-10 minutes later because you're not doing exactly what the like we should see it. It should be robotic, which is more like a De Zerbi. It's literally robotic. It doesn't matter who's in there. It's this instruction to high heaven. So Ten Hag does have more of that. Just to push back on the Scott McTominay and Maguire thing that you said a few moments ago, again, the reason why you have to blame them is because within this system, they are inadequate at what is required. You know, they can't do those things. They, you know, as a 6, McTominay can't do it. We saw against Man City at home. As an 8, he only has one element of the 8. Only one element of the 8, which is breaking from the midfield line into the forward line and finding the spaces. He doesn't have the temperament for rest defense. He doesn't have the La Posa in the midfield to keep the ball. When we finally gone into the opposition half, he can't keep it well. He doesn't have the ability to thread the ball into the thirds. He doesn't have the ball to do the underlaps for wide players if the fullback's not doing the underlaps into the half spaces. There's so many elements that Scott doesn't really have. He has the physical presence and is physical, but there's so many other elements as a midfielder that he just doesn't have. So you need to swap that out for somebody else that can do it, especially at the Premier League and Champions League winning level. So when we upregulate the system at the Champions League and Premier League level, yes, we can. It will be a cleanup because the way that he's got the turnovers in such a way that it's very suffocating the system, Mina. It's extremely suffocating when it's worked at its best level. The reason why you're talking about Madrid so much is because it's at the best level. There's no other, in almost every position, there's no other better player in the world. So Ancelotti literally just has to get out a cigar and relax because what he's operating, it's like the best footballers in the world will be doing it. If you watched Ancelotti's presser a couple of days, he said the best player in the world, Vinny. Second best player in the world, Jude. Third best player in the world, Kroos. Fourth best player in the world, like he's just naming all his players. And it's literally, no, but it's not a joke. It's literally like that. So whatever instruction you give them, there's an element of freedom. When you get to the creme de la creme level, you can either do it extremely positional and have Messi there to do the freedom stuff, or you have a load of superstars in a very basic-ish kind of style with enough principles and philosophy in there, but they can interpret it how they must in the moment. And that's similar to Ten Hag and Ancelotti in that way. And lo and behold, he was saying it. I think I tagged all of you in it. I had it pinned for a long while. I tagged all of you in it.
Yeah,
I was saying it, and lo and behold, it was what I was saying.
But the thing, my argument is not what you're saying about Ancelotti. My argument is what you're saying about the comparison to Ten Hag's system. If you get what I'm saying, I don't think Ten Hag's system is similar to what Ancelotti does at. Whether he says it or I'm talking about the practical. I'm talking about like the practicality, what's in front of us, basically. When I look at Ten Hag's system, I think when I think about the style of football he wants to play, I think it's a style of system similar to De Zerbi's, where there's no room for error, and if there is room for error, it will show major flaws to the players that are playing in the system, if that makes sense. I say this all the time. I don't think Ten Hag needs world-class players, and I've said this so many times. I don't think he needs world-class players to play for Man United. I think he needs players that fit his system, and that's what happens, I think, when you're a system manager versus when you're a tactical manager. And I'll give you a perfect example because you just spoke about Real Madrid and Ancelotti. Ancelotti is one of the greatest managers of this era. Yeah, he's got the world-class players at his disposal, but he's also been able to implement a style of football. You look at the difference of. And that's why I say you have to have a balance. You have to have the balance of the talent and a balance of the system. You look at PSG under Poch, yeah, or when they had Messi, Neymar, etc. They had all this talent, but no system, no tactical system. So they kind of was a failure in the Champions League, in my opinion. And with Neymar and Messi, they failed because they didn't win anything. So I think when we're looking at Ten Hag, I don't think he's a balance of Ancelotti where he needs world-class players and he needs a tactically good system. I think he's got the tactical system, but he just can't have the players because it's very difficult to find players that... Because, you know, when a player becomes a system player, look at Jack Grealish at City. Pep has sucked all the fun out of him. The Grealish at City is not the Grealish at Aston Villa that people used to enjoy watching, and, you know, even for England to an extent. When players become system players, they're not really... You know, they just do. And I think Jose Mourinho, I think, spoke about it recently, saying how nowadays in football, you don't need to be talented. You just need to follow instructions. And if you can follow instructions, you can be, you know, you can have a long football career at, you know, multiple clubs because you will go from system to system and all you have to do is be able to implement it. And when I look at Erik Ten Hag and specifically what he's tried to build this year, like I'm going off of let's say the last 18 months, what he's been trying to build in Champions League, in Premier League and all of that kind of stuff. When I think about that, I think, okay, cool. He has the system that he wants to build, but I just don't think it's going to work. Do you think it's going to work in the Premier League if he has the players that he needs in it?
Yes. The short answer of that is yes, it will work. because the players that he needs will be able to implement what he wants to do in the right moments. It's just that he'll be competing against other teams that also have to require players that they need. And then that becomes the discussion of world-class players. Mm-hmm. That's when you get, oh, well, are you better within your system than the other players within their system? And then, you know, so it always gets a discussion of world-class players at the same time. And then it gets a discussion of what temperament of these world-class players, because when you have a combination of Messi doesn't want to press and run, Neymar doesn't want to press and run, Mbappe doesn't want to press and run, you got now the workload has to get shared out differently and on other players, and so it's very technical, the road that we go down. You have to have a good balance of world-class players as well, and their temperament, their mindset, their application to the game. So all those things as well. But literally, if he can get the world-class players that have the right kind of mindset, which is why Jason Wilcox is here, because he's won the Premier League. He understands what it takes to win a Premier League, the type of temperament, the type of robustness that you need for 38 Premier League games, the speed of the game here. Yeah, it would have changed, but he's going to understand what it feels like, what a Premier League player looks like in comparison to Ten Hag. So when you add that in, I think, you know, and with Ashworth, Dan Ashworth, and with Barada, I think the type of footballer that we're going to be bringing here, with the wages, you know, with the kind, and giving them the right base. So Jim's been talking about the structure, how it's been disgraceful, and all these, you know, the leaked emails, all these sort of things that I've been reading about what Sir Jim's saying. We're building good foundations now for people to come in and perform. So, but all these players are part of a really poor regime in terms and those aspects. So I think like I said, I think Premier League trophies and Champions League trophies are to come if you let Ten Hag figure this poor stage out with these barren footballers.
You know what? This is the perfect segue for the next topic that I want to talk about. But before I do that, I want to play a voice note that Marcel sent me earlier in the week. Yeah, bro, you know how long I was laughing for?
Mina, I'm gonna back him, you know. Even though my head's turned a little bit to Tommy Tuchel.
You said your head turned to Thomas Tuchel. This was what? This was Wednesday afternoon. So this was actually before. This was before Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. This was before Real Madrid and Bayern Munich game. Marcel sent me a voice note saying that his head was turned, and I replied back laughing, saying, "This ain't Love Island, is it? Why is your head turning?" But on that Thomas Tuchel question, because I saw you talking about the 3-4-3 on Twitter, you know, this is the style of football that he plays.
Yeah.
Obviously, that later that evening, he made some poor decisions in the Champions League, ended up crashing out of the semi-finals.
Just as bad.
Are you still feeling the Thomas Tuchel thing? Are you feeling the Southgate hype? Because I'm seeing talks about Southgate as well. Are you feeling that, or is it just De Zerbi or Ten Hag?
It's now so De Zerbi and Thomas Tuchel are always on the basis of what you told me. You've always said to me months ago, look, the reality is they have their idea for this, and this. So why wouldn't they have their idea for the manager, Marcel? And from that moment onwards, and even a little bit before then anyway, I had said, okay, that's a reality. I can accept that for what that is. Bring me De Zerbi then. Just bring me De Zerbi. No one else could give a name for months, Mina. For months and months and months. We had Saeed. We had all these people talking, they just want Ten Hag. Even yourself. And then you might have said, no, okay, maybe Mourinho. I remember you saying, maybe Mourinho.
Yeah, I was trolling people. I remember
it very clearly. So it's like, but I was saying conviction-wise, definitely. Okay. I understand what Mina's brought to me here. The reality is, this could be a reality. Right, no problem. Bring me De Zerbi. And now, even with that thought process, it got to a stage now, well, these are the front runners. Southgate, Tuchel, because De Zerbi's not an option now. So I have to remove that reality. Tuchel, Southgate, or I think it was Sean Dyche, I believe. I read somewhere
Sean Dyche. I've seen Hansi Flick of recent.
And Hansi Flick as well.
I've seen that of recent. And I've seen the last report was that Ten Hag would stay because of the lack of managers in the market right
which
now.
Which God is
and Potter as well. Potter just turned down the Ajax job, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, I heard about that as well.
He's still holding out. Ruben Amorim is another one. We haven't really been linked to him, but obviously he was snubbed by West Ham for the job, and then snubbed by Liverpool after he basically was trying to play them both. The Sean Dyche thing, I think there's nothing there. I can't lie. I don't think there's anything there. I personally think if there's going to be a managerial race this summer or in the next month or two, I think it's going to be Potter, De Zerbi, or Thomas Tuchel. I think it'll be one of them three. And I know De Zerbi said that he wants to stay at Brighton, but everyone says that. Oh, I want to stay here. I want to do this. I want to do that. Man United come calling, people go crawling.
Fair enough. So with that news, then, because in my mind, I thought, Tuchel's the only option. If this is a reality that will really happen, then Tuchel's the only option, because I like the 3-4-3. Then later on, when I put that out there, a lot of people were saying to me, he doesn't even play the 3-4-3. How about that? So I'm just
he plays 4-2-3-1 at Bayern.
Well, at Chelsea, he had a really good 3-4-3. Mason Mount was part of it. I think he collected the Champions League with it. I was educating myself on it. Looked really good. Really, really kind of protective in terms of defensive elements. 5 players back. Then certain players join. It just looked okay. But penultimately, or very much ultimately, it's Ten Hag. But, with the reality of, them potentially changing certain elements, and with De Zerbi, a lot of people are telling me De Zerbi's staying. So if he's true to his word, then he's staying. But he would be the next best port of call. So it's between first place Ten Hag, second De Zerbi, third Tuchel, if anything comes to it. But I just think we'll be resetting the cycle all over again. Because we will always get to a stage where we ask this 25-man squad, go and win us the Premier League, please. They can't do it. They have, against the competition, their abilities, all these other elements, their mentality away from home, their application, it means they won't win the Premier League. We'll always get to a stage with a manager managing them where we ask these set of players, go and win us the Champions League, please. They can't do it. So it's like we have to still stick through this tough period where we're trying to call them out for what they are a lot of the time. And there's going to be, and then they also need facilities, the best in class ones. Ronaldo's let us know about that. Our football heritage means we haven't been good enough for many a year. So we've got to change that poor culture. Ralph has told us open heart surgery. Ole's told us we can't even take the next step. So, and that means playing from the halfway line and playing that dynamic football. So there's so much things we have to learn and accept right now as a reality, as Manchester United Football Club. These are our issues. But you have to stick with the manager to sort that out and grind that out.
But don't you think the managers? Do you think the managers completely blameless, or not as blameless as, say, the structure or the players? Because when you look at just like this season, for example, 13 losses in the Prem, bottom of the table, Champions League, 81 goals conceded so far. We still got 4 games left to play in the season, 3 Premier League games, and 1 FA Cup final game. Most number of records broken left, right, centre. Palace doing the double over us, multiple teams doing doubles over us, multiple teams come to Old Trafford for the first time in their life and getting a win. All of that stuff. Are you saying to me that injuries is to blame for it, or individual player errors? For example, I can accept that some of the games for the Champions League is fully down to some players.
Onana.
As to why Onana, some of the games that United lost is his fault, and I think he knows that. But I do have to think that Ten Hag is not completely. I don't think he's completely faultless in all.
I've never said that. And I'm a person. I need to copyright this. But I've always said there's percentages on things. I like to put percentages on things. So however we want to divvy it up, we can divvy it up. But I've never said he's completely faultless. I've never said that he's never had things to blame. And I don't know how many times one has to go over that, like his inadequacies. I don't know how many times one has to go over that. But he definitely has some things that, as a manager, starting out into the Premier League, just coming into that, because he's not at the GOAT level yet. Klopp has had this period, by the way. Pep has had this period, by the way, where they're making mistakes. Their talent ID is not good enough. These are all attributes to a manager that's just coming to the league. Now look at Ange. He was flavour of the month, going to win the league. All this. Look at him now. Did you get what I'm trying to say? So it's like they have to go through this learning and growing process. It's very important. So, and look at Arteta at the beginning stages. You know what I'm saying? Even them. So they have to go through this growing and learning process. It's the process. Wonderful word it is. And until we as Man United fans accept that, that our version of good right now is not treble winning Man United. It's something a little bit lower now. It's just top 4 Man United. It's just learning how to get into that consistently and get footballers that are happy to get into that consistently. Because for the last 10, Mourinho's told you your football heritage already. He told you that already. So it's about acceptance, what the reality is right now, and how do we build into that next phase. Ten Hag's working on it diligently right now. Diligently. So that's it.
Do you think though, because the way that I see it, I always say this: if you're gonna come in and change everything, it makes no sense keeping like the manager. Like, to me, that makes no sense. It's not because I don't hate the manager or anything, but it's just like logistically, if you're gonna come in and you're gonna change the CEO and you're gonna change, the director of football, and you're gonna change X and you're gonna change Y, and even outside of the football part of stuff, guys. So Jim Ratcliffe has told people they can't work from home anymore if they work for Manchester United. They have to start coming into the office 5 days a week. Like, they're actually changing a lot of things off the football pitch or off the football related side of stuff. So don't you think it would make sense for them to, because my worry is that if Ten Hag stays next season and things don't go to plan, that's a get out of jail free card for Ineos, because they can just be like, oh, well, he wasn't our guy, but our process officially starts now when we bring in our new manager or our own manager. I would rather, if you're gonna rebuild everything, just do it all in it. Don't just leave little bits and bobs lying around, because outside of I will say the controllables, the variables that you can control, the director of football, the CEO, the manager, I don't think you can control variables such as players going in and out of the club as much as you can control who the manager is, who the CEO is, who's director of football, director of recruitment, a sporting director, all of that kind of stuff. This summer, I don't expect a huge clear out, because we keep hearing about players are gonna, X number 10 players are being sold at the minimum. But I think I think they're buffing up those numbers a bit, because those players, I think, include people like Donny van der Beek and, people leaving on a free, Brandon Williams, Anthony Marcel, Tom Heaton, Amrabat going back to Fiorentina, who, by the way, reached a Conference League final. So he should have just stayed there, because at least he would have been in a European final rather than rotting away at Manchester United's bench. But I think the variables of players going out is a lot more harder to control than who your manager is. So what I'm saying is, if you change what you can, because I'm not gonna lie, players leaving, guys, it's not fully in United's control. It's about trying to find people they can negotiate with. They've got big salaries to get off their books, so they got people like Harry Maguire that earns a lot, Jadon Sancho. Personally, I would say people like Mason Mount, if he can't stay fit for a year, his time's going to run up soon. So the way that I see it is, if they're going to change the stuff they can change, and that puts you in a better position to kind of keep it moving, if you hear what I'm saying.
Yeah, Mourinho mentioned it the other way around. You said get out of jail card. I've been saying for the longest time, insurance policy. Ineos are going to be here, like I said, I've said it a long time, like 50 years. I'm pretty sure you might have, like I've said, Ineos, in my mind, let's just theoretically, they're going to be here longer than any sort of manager that will be here. So they have to prove to us that they can purchase good talent. They have to prove to us that they can get the best of class in, and it actively change the dynamics of the football club. Changing the manager is what we've always done. We've not, and the players, Ronaldo's complained about everything else around. Mourinho said, I wish I had this person or that person, so everyone else around. Ole wanted certain players and didn't get them. That's everyone else around. That we need to change everything else around except the manager. How about that? We need to do everything else. The last thing that should be done now, because we've always done it the other way and it's not working. The last thing that should be done now is the manager. The first thing that should be done now is the players. I don't care how many windows it takes. Keep building it, and it will come together. But if we're to change the manager first again, that is crazy to me. Absolutely ludicrous. Let's see if you can give the manager the best operating opportunity as possible. And if it doesn't work with this manager, then change it to your guy. But if you do it the same way again, oh my gosh, and there's been so many times where we've pointed to, the structure's not right. This is why it failed. They didn't support me properly. This is why it's not failed. They're paying players on astronomical wages. This is why it's failed. Like, it is crazy if we go and do it the exact same way as we've always done. Madness.
But won't it be different now? Again, this is just me giving hypotheticals, guys. Won't it be different now if United do the same thing again, which is sack a manager? Because this time they've got the structure in place. Last time we had finance bros making the decisions. We had bankers making the decisions. Now, wouldn't you feel a bit more? This is a question for you. Would you feel a bit more reassured because there's proven people in the roles necessary to replace a manager, or are you still under the impression that Ineos still need to prove to us that they're worthy of, us giving them the benefit of the doubt?
Both, Mina, and it takes time for both to come into fruition. That's why you keep the manager. If just on that premise alone, just give it time to form itself and just keep him on that premise alone. The fans know the inadequate footballers. The manager knows the inadequate footballers. Let that take manifestation. So just on that premise alone, those 2 points that are very poignant, let them form then. Let the best in class work for a year. Let the new structure and everything else come together. And then let the manager operate. Let them give him the style of play in which there's conditions and the philosophies. Let that happen. But if you go and change the manager right now with a new structure, the structure hasn't even done anything yet. We have a Euros to play. So what is the new manager gonna do when there's a whole Euros operating? You might as well keep this manager because he's gonna be able to be part of the veto. He shouldn't have. I like to put percentages on things. So he should only really have 20% in the say of who and what, and in terms of transfers. But he at least has an idea. Wilcox has won the Premier League, knows the idea. Berardo wants to change people every 2 years, so he's gonna have in 2 years I want this footballer got. If he's not performing, I want him gone. So they're all going to be commuting and talking right now. And the window, early on in the window, the first 2 weeks of the window, something should be happening. It really needs to happen because last time we thought murder madness, and it was to the end of the season. So we need something to be happening now. But a new manager comes in, we got to celebrate him a little bit. He's going to come in, trust all the players again. Sancho, who again hasn't showed the right application. Maguire.
I'm glad you brought up Sancho.
Maguire, who's shown that he's surplus to requirements in terms of playing on the halfway line. Rashford, who to a degree hasn't shown the right application. Casemiro, who's on astronomical wages. All these things, that's the real get out of free jail card now. That is the real get out of free jail card because those things then kind of get slept on a little bit. They don't really get woken up to and alerted as it should be within the club.
You brought up Sancho because I don't know, bro. When you wake up in the morning, you be tweeting madness. I swear, every time I go on Twitter, you're just saying stuff that just make me laugh. But you spoke about Sancho. Obviously, he's in a Champions League final. Congratulations to him. I'm very happy to him. But you spoke about on Twitter about his work ethic at United and how he didn't have the right work ethic. Knowing everything you know, and the way that he's been playing, would you give him another chance next season? Or are you still under the impression, because you said he has to apologize, are you still on that idea where he has to apologize, otherwise he cannot come back?
Those two, again, same thing. Those two elements must collide. So of course I give him another chance. Of course, I want every single person that's purchased from Manchester United Football Club to do well, to win, to be part of success, to have as much success as possible. But there's a clear, I don't know what era we are from right now. I don't know what's happened on this planet. I don't know what's happening on this universe. In my day, if you go directly against the manager, that's it. What are we doing here? The manager has said you have not played well in training. How can you even fathom of saying that my training was good? Well, the manager just said your training wasn't good. So how can you even fathom saying that and then expect what is going on? What is going on, Mina? Even if we just take away just that element in itself requires you to apologize. You had a 2-week international break after that moment, Mina. 2-week international break. You should have been knocking on Carrington door, his manager's door. Knock. Listen, I'm going out to training, 3 hours. Next day, sleep, eat, focus. Not magnums, sleep, eat, eggs in the morning, porridge in the morning. Knock on Tuesday now. Knock. I'm going out to training now. I'm trying to show you the levels. That's Tuesday. Knock. Wednesday happens now. I'm going to show you the levels, manager. Yes, Ten Hag. I'm there. Training, 3 hours again. Thursday. Yes, I'm there again. So, but he didn't do that. He decided to go on the internet and say, no, you're wrong, manager. I was good in training, by the way. Don't read everything. What are you talking? In the other era, in my era. That is blasphemy. What are we talking about? So he has to go and say sorry, man. There's just no other maths that makes sense. Do I want? By the way, also mentioned that in those tweets, I said, "Oh, lovely. Thank God he's in the Champions League final. Well done for him. This is beautiful news. I want him to win it. I want him to continue showing beautiful football." I've always said I believe he's the English Neymar. That's how good his talent is.
That's
and
what
Neymar,
you said.
I've always said that. But at the same time, under Ole, there was no double figures goals and assists. There was just none. Under Ralph, there was no double figures goals and assists.
Bro, he was under Oli for like 3 months.
Mina, he's been here for like 2 or 3 seasons on 350k a week. He's not performed well, Mina. I don't really want to argue on that point too tough. Like, it's just reality.
Do you think because you talk about the manager having the settings around him to succeed? Do you feel like Sancho has had the environment around him to succeed? Bear in mind, he came in 1 whole year late, and I say this all the time. He came in a whole year late. Man United were in talks with Dortmund the summer before that to sign him. They couldn't agree terms. He ended up coming in a summer after. Who came in that same summer? Cristiano Ronaldo. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer spoke about it on his interview, where he said basically Ronaldo coming in changed all our plans. If Ronaldo never came in, Sancho would have been playing with Cavani. He would have been playing with, you know, Rashford, Marcel, a more fitter Marcel, etc., etc. If Sancho came in a season early, he would have had the opportunity to play with players where they were better and fitter before they got injured. Blah 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 blah. 2-3 months into his time, the manager that brought you in gets
infection as well. Has an ear infection
forget
as well.
the ear infection. Forget his. I'm talking about again the environment, having the environment to succeed. A couple months into his first year at the club, the manager that brought him in gets sacked. Ralf Rangnick comes in. Ralf Rangnick said he's never had a problem with Sancho. He said that what he sees now in reports about him, he's never had it. So then he has Ralf Rangnick for a bit. Then Eric Ten Hag comes in. So that's a third manager in 1 year that you need to prove yourself to. Then outside of football, he's having issues in his personal life. Mental health problems. And for me, I will always sympathize with that. Eric Ten Hag came out. Well, people close to Eric Ten Hag reportedly said that he's done everything that he could to support Jadon Sancho. But I think that's the bare minimum. I don't think it's something to brag about. It's not something to boast. I think as a manager, that's a bare minimum to support your employees, support the person that technically, you know, you manage. So then he's had that issue. He's come back. I think this would have been his first proper season of normality had this issue with Ten Hag not happened. I genuinely think that, because I think the 2 years that he's been at the club, it's been a roller coaster. There's been no kind of consistent 3 months of stability. Bear in mind, I think it was when he came to United, or the year after is when he was at United, is when he missed the penalty for the Euros. So that's a whole different thing. I'm not saying that's an excuse, but I'm saying that the same way you kind of have grace for Eric Ten Hag for being in an environment that's not allowing him to succeed, don't you feel like that could be the same for Jadon Sancho?
Yes, and yes. Agree with it. Just when you have to market in the factors of the wages that the player's on, so the expectation of the footballer, you have to market in the fact that you're a professional footballer playing at the highest level. There's demands and pressure at this stage. It's not Dortmund. There's demands and pressure at this stage. 90,000 packed, ready, expecting you to do it. It's not at the dilly-dally level. You're at the top creme de la creme level. So regardless of what's happening, as you know, it doesn't matter. We need you still to perform at the best level. It's hard to get to that, I know, but we still expecting you. And by the way, he's had extraordinary measures in mind. To my mind, this is an extraordinary measure, sending you away to a different environment, away from the football, and to get your fitness back. Ten Hag's really gone out of the way kind of measures. This is not just what you've expected to do. Expected to do could be a week off here, a week off there, stay in England in the same environment. Sends them away. Sancho is better away from England.
I agree.
Because at Man City they had a similar kind of predicament with him, and
but he was young then. He was young.
Yeah, I hear that, but he's still acting young now. Let's put it that way then, because in and around this environment it has to be football. And he hasn't been able to apply himself with that dynamic within him. So he needs to end up at Barcelona. His top level is at Barcelona. That's where he will end up. Yeah,
Barcelona. But you're saying United is not his level. Do you think United is his level?
No. not his level, not his environment, not everything like what you're mentioning. It's not everything encompassing for the footballer. It's not right. The demands, the pressure, the speed of the game in this league, what we love to see as Manchester United fans, how much wages you're on and your expectation because of those wages. All these little things, he can't handle it. He can't handle it. He just can't handle it. But at Dortmund, he's got the keys. Here you go, Sancho. We're going to give you the ball every single time. The pace of the game in that league's different, and we only need you to perform in X amount of games and in the Champions League. It's going to be a similar predicament at Barcelona, but with a higher expectation. But he'll be able to handle it there. He's a fantastic. Will become a world-class footballer. But in this robust, heavy, crush and tumble league, can't do it. And with that expectation on them wage, can't do it. And then he's got the attitude as well, going against the manager. When all the manager said to you, all he said to you after like the first 3 games of the season, or whatever it was against Arsenal. And it wasn't he and the journalist, the wicked, evil journalist, has
now you're blaming the journalist.
Yeah, because the journalist gave the question.
The journalist just asked him a question. Where's Jadon Sancho? He wasn't in the matchday squad. That's a normal question in a press room, guys. That's a normal question. That's not wicked.
Evil.
Bro,
right
now, bro, come on. Right now, if you're not on the full view, yeah, someone in the chat is going to be like, where's Marcel? That's not a bad question to ask. It's just a question. If Sancho is not in the matchday squad, a journalist is going to ask, because if it wasn't mentioned pre-game, because this is how it works at press conferences, guys. Pre-game, they ask about any injuries that's going to impact the squad on the match day. So if they're seeing that Sancho wasn't mentioned as an injury, they're going to ask him after the game, by the way, where's Sancho? He wasn't in the matchday squad. The journalist is just doing his job. I can't remember what journalist it was that asked it, by the way, but he's just doing his job. Ain't nothing wicked about it.
That is a wicked. I wish I was in that press conference. I wish I was in that presser. That is a wicked and evil, horrible journalist. I know you're trying to stroke my ego there, but unless I'm on the football pitch playing under Ten Hag for Manchester United Football Club, I wouldn't business if anyone's asking questions about where I am. So until that happens, that's that. But for Manchester United Football Club, if you're not part of the squad, we don't want to hear questions about you're not there, innit? So let's talk about the squad and the 17 players that Ten Hag has selected to be part of this business against Arsenal Football Club. But the wicked, horrible journalist has gone and asked this question, and Ten Hag just given you the realities. And now his footballer has decided to go against him. I've had enough. That these are diva footballers. You can't have that kind. We need discipline and application if we're going to take us to the next level. Throughout the season, by the way, I've heard Pep cuss players. I've heard Poch cuss players. I think I've heard Ange cuss players. And I don't hear them coming out on Twitter. I don't see it. So it's just the wrong kind of mentality for my football club, for our football club. Let me change it. For our football club. And it's just... Here we go again. The businessman paid a good footballer that looks like a good businessman stupid wages. He ain't done nothing. Hasn't kicked any football and won any Premier League in the Premier League. Just craziness.
Yeah, I disagree with the part about obviously the journalist being evil. I think he's just doing his job. But what I will say is that you're right in the instance of Pep. I think it's unfortunate, but I think Pep can talk about players in a way because he's won stuff. He's a proven winner. I think with Manchester, when you're the manager of Manchester United, I feel like everything you do is under a microscope. And I do think like with this whole Jadon Sancho situation when it happened, I just thought, well, if the manager could because it's 2 ways that he could have gone about that question in particular. He could have either just said, he's not in the matchday squad because I made the decision that he's not, and that would have trickled a lot of. People would be like, oh, but why what happened? Have they fell out? But instead he just said, oh, he wasn't training well, blah blah blah. And I think what Jadon Sancho said opened a bigger can of worms. It's not that Jadon Sancho came out and said I've been training well, full stop. He said I'm tired of being used as a scapegoat, which kind of alludes to something else. And someone mentioned it earlier in the chat as well and said that training well doesn't guarantee game time. Asks Ahmad. We've never had the manager speak negatively about Ahmad, but maybe Jadon Sancho felt like no matter how well he trains, certain people will still start ahead of him. And I'm not saying it's warranted to go online and all of that kind of stuff. But I just feel like, Jadon Sancho hasn't been given, and quite a few players this can be applicable to even in the past, they ain't been given the environment to succeed. And I always say Jadon Sancho do well at Dortmund. good. I want to see him happy. I want to see him enjoying playing football with a smile on his face. I saw a video of him celebrating in the locker room with his speakers singing Adele. That made me happy. That was nice to see. I want to see stuff like that, and I would like for him to continue doing that because I want him to go on and play for England again and all of that stuff. But just talking about Man United in general, we got 3 games left. Do you see 9 points? What do you think United's getting?
Nah, I'm in the reality world now in terms of
you've come back to reality now at the end of the season.
I'm in the right now world in the sense of, because a lot of the times I'll predict Man United wins, especially at Old Trafford. Love being at Old Trafford and the feeling of the ground and just the idyllicness of it, and you know, I'd always believe that we get points, but he has to. If I was manager or if I was on the coaching staff, he can still employ me. I would just say literally do the counter-attacking football, Mina. He has to do it. He just has to do. He has to bite the bullet and just say, you know what? It's the end of the season. It's been a barren old season. We go again next season. We get the players in next season. But against these 3 formidable sides, these superior sides, by the way, because he was doing that against Liverpool, he played the counter attack. Against City, he played the counter attack. These next sides, Newcastle, formidable, better than us. Arsenal, formidable, better than us. City, formidable, better than us. Brighton, tactically, because they have more of the players within their system, and they're further into their process, better than us. But usually he goes and plays a more conservative, pragmatic style under those circumstances, because in our process, we're not there yet to be dominant and forceful with our system. Mm-hmm. So just do it, Ten Hag. Please play the pragmatic football. It's going to be boring and horrible at Old Trafford, but we have the 13th man. We could derive some points out of that. But if you go machine for machine just to show us, because that's the positive. Against Coventry at Wembley, that was the beautiful, beautiful positive. Against Crystal Palace, that's the beautiful, beautiful positive. He's still trying to play.
What's the beautiful positive?
I'm coming to it. He shows you by still playing a style of football that certain man, just sell that now. It's just not good enough. Sell it now. It's not good enough. That player is not good. Look, I'm trying to still do the thing, but they cannot do it. They cannot interpret it. They can't do it, and they can't do it at a Premier League level winning. They can't do it at a Champions League level winning. Sell it. So that's the good positive from him.
There's no positive. There's no positive from Palace. There's no positive from Coventry. There's no positive from any of those poor performances. What it showed to me, what Palace showed to me, is that yes, some of the players are inadequate. But it also showed to me that the manager's stubbornness and his reluctantness to change stuff is what's going to F him up. Because in particular, the way that I saw it is you're going up against a 3-4-3 midfield. You know, they've got players in the midfield. They've got Elise. They got Eze. They've got a physical presence in Mateta up top. Why did Eriksen play? Because United, I understand Bruno's out injured. So you need someone who's going to control the ball. But Eriksen physically I think his weaknesses outweigh his strengths. I'll be honest.
Mina, there was no one else available.
Amrabat. You telling me because Kobbie Mainoo was left out to dry. I felt like he was left out to dry in that midfield as a lone 6. And every time we do see him as a lone 6, it's a very difficult watch. It's a very difficult watch when he's playing by himself. And the manager's stubbornness to crowd the midfield when we should, or not even crowd the midfield, just play 2 people sitting, holding the whole time, especially when you've got a very fragile backline. That would have made more sense to me. But you're saying that the 4-0 showed us a positive thing, which is these players are shit. Bro, we've been knowing they're crap. We've been knowing it. We've been knowing it.
Yeah, well, we have, but has Ineos to a degree, you know, and especially within the philosophy and circumstances that they're still maybe setting upon Ten Hag, especially if they keep him next season. That means they agree with the conditions that have been set in terms of philosophy. So they need to really see that play out in itself. There's no backline available here today. He's still trying to play the footballers in certain positions that would have suited the certain style that we want to play, but we can't even get past the build-up phase. Okay, yeah, that means we need a centre-back that is good enough, boom, boom, boom. We need another 6 or a strong enough 8, boom, boom, boom. There was no left-back today. Where's the world-class left-back? Boom, boom, boom. Right-back wasn't really good enough. The low, is he good enough at the top level? No, he's not. He's not reached it. He's not this one. Get the new right-back in. You know, in the forward line, maybe another help out for Højlund. Anthony is absolutely crap. Sell him immediately. You know, all these little things, when you still play the style, it's like it helps. it helps that you, and then when he looks throughout the squad and the bench, if you see the bench, it's a load of youth players. Okay, we need a whole new set of footballers to uplift the floor raisers. We need floor raisers. There's this youth players here. What's going on? So Ineos can see that now. Whereas if you play the counter, the conservative football, what you're trying to do is hold your honor a little bit. Let's just get through this game. Let's just try and pick up points. We're gonna pick up any opportunities once.
Marcel. Sorry, I got to interrupt you. Sorry, I know you're you're cooking right now. You're cooking, but Nubian just dropped a mad super chat, and I have to interrupt you. I would never, I'll never interrupt you while you're speaking, but I have to interrupt you just to acknowledge this from UV's very own Nubian Pharaoh. Shout out for that's a big W. W's in the chat for Nubian. Unfortunately, there is no emoji for him here on my channel. But big up to Nubian. I appreciate it. Says good show. That means a lot. Because he's always cooking people on super chats on UV, and I'm always there. So big up to Nubian. W's in the chat for Nubian. You know what? I might just have to make an emoji for him. But big up for that. Much appreciated. Love. Continue, Marcel. Sorry for cutting you.
It's one of those things where he's in a balance of just two really difficult situations because of the injuries. Something I've been saying for the longest amount of time. So lo and behold, it's kind of manifesting itself. What I've been saying in terms of the injuries, making it very difficult to play this style of play. But honestly, Ten Hag, just do the counter-attacking football for the last few games. Just hold the L right now. Again, he does this anyway. So even if they were to come at you in the presses, you have to kind of just have to accept it. Yeah, no, say yeah.
Apparently, there's a whole search for you on Managerial.
Yeah,
I've seen posters. I've seen posters flying around saying, "Where is he? Wanted."
I saw it. I just saw it. I saw it this morning when I woke up nice and early. Had my porridge, my eggs, and my beans. I was gassed. I saw it and I'm thinking, it's in my drafts. I'm gonna reply to it soon. It's in my drafts. I see it. I saw that poster. It's in my drafts. Don't worry. But
you need to go defend yourself, man. You need to go defend yourself.
Yeah, literally. But yeah. This we need to stick through this difficult time. Ten Hag will deliver Premier League and Champions League trophies, man. He will. It's just a matter of time. He needs to upregulate the quality of the squad. We need to give him time. And there's a lot of players that are just not good enough anyway. Before even when the next manager comes, if he was to come, it would.
You're the only person I've seen saying that, like from day dot. Last season, I remember you were saying Ten Hag is going to win us trophies. This is before the Carabao Cup. You were saying Ten Hag is going to win us trophies, and I'm amazed that the belief is still there. That you think that he's the guy to bring the Premier League trophies, because I can't lie, I feel like a lot of people have lost faith. I do think that
they do it with every single manager, man. That's the saddest thing. That's why we call it a cycle. Is unfortunately, and to break the cycle, you have to stick through the difficult period. But this is why it's a cycle. It's going to continuously happen that way. Unfortunately, we're still in this Sir Alex mode, where he had such power over the belief and the way to win trophies and getting into the footballers and motivating footballers at such a high caliber level, that we're so used to just winning it in that kind of dynamic and fashion and consistently. And we're clamoring for that element so much now. We're not thinking about the process in which to get to that stage, because even he had that process at the beginning. But the Premier League's a lot different now as well. There's about 4 or 5 teams competing at that kind of caliber level of consistently trying to attempt to win it. So even in his era, it was a bit easier, for want of a better word. I can't believe some people might go over somebody's head, but I'm just being honest. But right now it's the melting pot's even harder now. But if you change it now and reset the cycle again, just forget it. Then let's just sleep forever. I'll see you lot in the future. I'll see you all in the future, and I'll be backing that whoever it is.
Would you back Southgate? Are you going to back Southgate? If
I will back them to the hilt. I will back the new one, because I feel like if you watch all the old UV videos, I feel like I was one of the old ones. I was one of the people backing Ole to the end. I was at a wedding when he lost 4-0. Otherwise, I would have been outside the ground telling everyone, listen, keep him in for a little bit. The season's still young. That's what I was saying all the other games when he was losing them. I was saying the game's is still young. The season's still young. Let him change it. He'll figure it out. Boom, boom, boom. I'm Man United first. I love this club. I'm Man United first. But with this style of football, it's such a high-risk football. It's such an adventurous style of football. It's such an attacking style of football. Just let him upregulate it. You're going to see the fruition. It's suffocating for the opponent to deal with once it's got the best players operating it. He's going to clean up for a good period of years if you let him get that caliber of football in. Wilcox, he needs to get a good relationship with Jason Wilcox, because Wilcox knows what Premier League winning looks like and feels like. He needs to get a good relationship with Barada, because Barada knows Barcelona-ness and that kind of technical positional football and technical football. And he wants to update the thing every 2 years. So there'll be freshness coming in all the time. Yeah. So just give him time.
I think with like, people always think you have crazy views. I don't think Marcel's views are crazy. Like, some of your points, I hear it 100%. I might not agree with it, but like, I always understand where it's coming from, and I like to challenge it a little bit. But quickly before we wrap it up, because I'm going to the theatre and I'm going to be late, and my sister's going to kill me. Arsenal Sunday. Obviously, I'm going to be real, guys. I will be watching the game, but with not as much vim as I'd usually be watching it, because I'll be I'll probably be coming back from the Women's FA Cup final at the time that the men's kick off. So hopefully I'll be in a good mood because the women's win an FA Cup. But Arsenal, no fit centre-backs, only Johnny Evans. Another partnership with Casemiro against a Jesus, against Saka, against Martinelli, against Havertz, against Jorginho, against Partey, against Rice, etc. They've got their basically full lineup. How do you think United are going to fare? Because I'm seeing people, I did a preview video, guys, it's the pinned comment in my chat. So make sure you guys check it out after the game. I did a preview with Sharky from SDS and Beta Squad. So we're talking about the Arsenal and United game. So make sure you go check that out. Big up to him as well. He doesn't feel like United are gonna fully roll over. Like, I've seen people saying 5-0. Like, I've been seeing outrageous scorelines, because obviously we just lost 4-0 to Palace. But when I speak to like level-headed Arsenal fans, they're saying, you know, United are always up for it against us. So it doesn't matter how bad United are, they will come out and put in a good performance. And he predicted, I think he said 2-1 or 3-1 to Arsenal. Obviously, that's what we lost this season. Do you think it's going to be a gritty performance? Like, you know, Liverpool at Anfield, even though we had a stronger team at the time, we had Varane available, etc. Or do you just think, just say Bismillah and just play football?
Well, firstly, I think you just mentioned the women's game. So, big up Sharky. And then Mary, I think she got honorees from the royal family. So yeah, big up to her as well. Best goalkeeper in the women's game right now, especially for England and domestically. And then in terms of for Arsenal football, against Arsenal Football Club, I'm going to be in the stadium, so I'm going to be feeling all the emotions of these goals going against us. But again, the way I'm looking at it is we need to feel this pain, the sins of the past. It's been barren for 10 years. So I accept the sins of the past. The sins of the past, Mina. So I can accept this. I'm going to accept this in this small moment now. And these low lows only for me predict high highs later on. We will lose this game, unfortunately. But if it's counter-attacking football, we could save face and get a draw. I see a 2-2 draw. That would be nice. But maybe a 3-1 to Arsenal. You know, you got to pray for it, or 2-1 to Arsenal. Unfortunately, it's hurting me to say it. I'll be there feeling the emotions of it. But a counter-attacking football, you could maybe save face. Something beautiful happens for us. But I'm predicting a loss.
When I speak to Sharky, I'm not going to ruin the whole video, but he made an interesting point about Man City versus Fulham. That's the day before. So he said that scoreline could actually basically heavily impact the Arsenal players. So it'll be interesting to see. I think it's going to be a 2-1. I don't think United's going to completely roll over for Arsenal, but because it's at Old Trafford, it makes me believe a little bit, because Arsenal is probably a long-standing rival and they are in a title race. You don't, and the title race is between two of your rivals. It was between three of them, but Liverpool dropped out. But it's between two of your rivals right now, so you don't really want to hand it to them. So I expect a fight, a gritty performance, 90 minutes of just pure like determination, aggression, and passion. Like, I'm becoming a passion merchant, but fully that's what I expect now. The next 3 games of the season, I really can't predict it. Newcastle, I can't predict. Brighton, I can't predict. So that's a problem for after the Arsenal game. But big up to everyone, guys. We are 1 like off 100. So let's get to 100 as we wrap it up. You doing anything nice this weekend?
Just the Arsenal game. Other than that, I'm just relaxing right now. I'm just relaxing.
Nice. As I mentioned, the sun's out, so I'll be off to the FA Cup final on Sunday. A vlog coming from that as well. Guys, get your predictions in the chat quickly. Arsenal versus Manchester United on Sunday. I just want to see what a lot of you lot are saying. Michael says Arsenal will feel the pressure if they don't score before the 30th minute. Z says we have to beat Arsenal. I can't stand these lot beating us at OT. Yeah, same. Like, I don't care about the Emirates, but Old Trafford, I can't handle it. I really can't. I think it could be a draw. A part of me thinks it could be a draw. A part of me thinks someone might nick it, because I feel like at Arsenal, at the Emirates this season, it was 2-1 and United were still, they had their foot on the gas. It was only from a counter that they scored the third goal in like the 90-something minute. So had United been able to get that final chance in front of goal, they might have been able to salvage a point. Obviously, it's different, much fitter squad, more players available, etc. Z says 2-1. Breadwinner says 3-1 to Arsenal. DK says draw 2-2. Rajat says 2-1 Arsenal or and 2-2. Michael says 1-1. Nobody's predicting outrageous scorelines, man. I love that. Big up to everyone, man. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. If you want to join the membership club, you can. It's not the pinned comment in the chat, but it is in the bio of the video. Pinned comment in the chat. Go check out that video afterwards that I did with Sharky previewing the Arsenal game. I will be back, obviously, after Women's FA Cup, after the Arsenal game, where we'll be doing a post-match stuff here. Marcel, let them know, as always, man, where can they find you?
Marcel 11 to 10 on Twitter. Moments of Marcel on TikTok right now. That's about it.
And he's coming to YouTube soon, guys. He's coming to YouTube soon. Big up to everyone, man. I hope you all enjoy your Friday. I'm out. Marcel's out. As always, hit the like button on your way out, guys. Peace.